Good morning. This is Kenny Moore. First post in a long time with a video to it, and I just was thinking to ask everybody out here for a special request. Um, this Sunday, of course, is Palm Sunday. Following Sunday is Easter, and a lot of people will be coming through the church here, and that don't go a lot or don't come out to church a lot, and I would just like to ask that there would be such a move of the Spirit these next 2 Sundays that people's hearts would be gripped inside of them, Lord, and that people would just really turn to the Lord and not have it just a religious or quote unquote spiritual event that they're coming to and some kind of fulfill something, but people's hearts and minds would be transformed and they would be changed and that they would live and serve the Lord all their days, and it would be a life-changing event. I'm really crying out for that, and that's why I'm on here right now, just to ask it this week. I know you'll be praying for your own churches and people, and just remember Benders too, in that prayer, that God would just break forth, and people's lives would be changed. I wanted to read something here from Isaiah chapter 40, and this is a prophecy from Isaiah about 700 years before Jesus and John the Baptist showed up on the scene there. And this is important, I think, because I believe we are the John the Baptist generation. This has been a word on my life, prophetic word from before I was even born. People would come up and lay hands on my mom's stomach and say, "This one's like John the Baptist." And when I was like 4 or 5, I got one of those Archer books my mom got me, and it was about John the Baptist, and I loved it, reading it, but I always got scared because at the end of this book, this little Archer Christian book, they talk about John, got his head cut off, and so that part always scared me. Matter of fact, they had the disciples of John in that book, like holding a sheet like this, and when they were holding the sheet, it was because John's, I guess, body was in there. And what I did was I changed the story a little bit. I drew a little head peeking up out of that sheet, waving like this. And the reason I did that is because I hated that part of the story. I loved everything up to that. He was making a straight way for the Lord, and preparing the way. A forerunner in ancient times was one or two or a group of people that would run ahead of a king and get out of the roadway any obstacles, say trees that had fallen, boulders, stones, so that he would have a smooth entrance into wherever he was going. And their job was very important. They'd also be able to alert people about the enemy up ahead, and maybe even deal with those enemies. But they would make a clear path for the Lord. I believe this generation that we're in right now, this day we're living in, that we should be doing the same thing, that we would be crying out to God, and also, of course, living like John did, in a sense of being passionate, sold out, and fired up for the Lord, that He's coming soon, and I believe that totally is now. And I believe we are really one of the last generations, I think, that are going to be here to prepare this straight way for the Lord. And it's so important that we do that. Let me read this here. It says, listen, it's the voice of someone shouting, and someone shouting, "Clear the way through the wilderness for the Lord. Make a straight highway through the wasteland for our God. Fill in the valleys and level the mountains and hills. Straighten the curves and smooth out the rough places. For then the glory of the Lord will be revealed, and all the people will see it together, for the Lord has spoken." And that's what I desire in my life personally, is that I would make a straight, clear pathway for the Lord, the King of Glory, to ride into my life. And as He rides into my life, that He would not find any rough places in me, that I would let His Spirit fill in all those spots, and He comes in might and power and glory, and that people don't see me, like John didn't want people really seeing him. He was only here to do one thing, and that was to make Jesus known, to make the way for Christ, the good news, amen, that Jesus was going to bring, the kingdom. And for us, this is a glorious day to live. We have this opportunity in a wicked, out of control world, that we can be even as John the Baptist. There is a price to pay, but we know that when we're saved, we know that there is a price to pay, that it could even cost us our lives. But John didn't shrink back. He always spoke the truth, and he was speaking of Jesus. And that's how I think we are too, as this John the Baptist generation. We should be declaring and crying out in the wilderness, because it is like a wilderness out there, and that there's a lot of rough spots we should be going into, and bringing the announcement that the King is coming. And that's what I'd like to see happen these next couple of weeks, is that like John, that us as pastors and other leaders and other men and women who have opportunity to share in front of groups of people, that we would not be concerned about our church being built up. Psalm 127 says, unless the Lord builds a house, those who build it labor in vain. And so we trust God to do that. And I'm not looking to have people come out. I want to see people saved. I want to see people's hearts changed, minds renewed, and their lives and their hearts set on fire for God, like mine is, and even more passionate than I am for the Lord. So pray for these couple weeks, that His Spirit would just shine forth and would just break through into the services, and that people would come into an encounter with the living God. And then they could go about doing the same thing that John did, which was declaring that the kingdom is coming, and that Jesus is here, and He's coming, and He will come, and all of the great things we have as Christians to bring. We have good news, good news. So don't be weary, but please just pray. I'm praying, I'm seeking God that this week and next week, as all these different people come in from different places, from all walks of life, that they would not just come to an event. Well, maybe they would. They just think I'm coming to an event. But they would be surprised that the King of Glory would show up in might and power. Lord bless you. And I pray for all of you that we would rise up to be that John the Baptist generation. Thank you.